Hello, Playdate. This is Don,
I'm not Nick, but I am Ryan.
and this week we are covering Playdate news.
Some of those indie releases and trying to figure out a way to get us all on this show together again.
It seems insurmountable, but thank you for listening anyway. Let's go ahead and get started, Ryan.
Let's do.
Let's
Oh boy, do we have a correction?
a little bit. I messed
Okay.
up. I wanted to offer a public apology to Alan Cook. He sent us an email like almost 2 months ago, and somehow it got shuffled into the spam folder. And so Alan Cook, and let me pull this up because he worked on a game called Fortress with his sister, and I want to make sure I give them both a shout out. Alan and Beth Cook worked on the game Fortress. It is on catalog now, and we've mentioned the game on our podcast, but they sent us a review code and everything, and it just it got buried. So I just wanted to thank Alan and acknowledge that we did receive the email. He also sent us a walkthrough guide in the email, so it's very cool. So it says that it's full of spoilers. It's for completionists and anyone that has questions. So he said that he listens to the podcast regularly and wants us to give the game a try. And this is actually a game that I think appeals to all of us. It's got sort of that Zelda vibe with a lot of kind of quirky dialogue. And I know we've spoken about it favorably, thank goodness. But anyway, we will be giving it a try. So thanks again, Alan, and sorry that we've overlooked it. You are welcome to email us at helloplaydatepodcast@gmail.com. And I promise that I will more thoroughly scrape the spam folder. We just get so many of those like, hey, your podcast is so successful, blah blah blah. Do you need my help to make it even more so? But don't lie to us. It's not that successful. We know we can cut through
So
the wheat from the chaff.
so what you're saying here, Don, is that we're very important, is the bottom line, right?
Of the 15 emails that were in there, this was the one legit email. Yes,
Okay,
in the
cool.
spam
So thanks
folder.
and apologies, Alan Cook. We appreciate you reaching out. We
Yes.
sincerely do, and we're sorry if we got caught up in our lives. So anyhow, yes, please reach out. Please let us know what's going on with you, devs. And if we mess up, hey, we'll fess up to it in our correction section,
Yeah.
which leads into our news and notes section for today, which is
Uh,
chock full of news and notes. You know, Donathan, last week, last episode, you and Nick were doing a fine job with news and notes, but I felt like I miss being there. I got to get those news and notes, and so maybe we'll do like 120, 150 minutes of news and notes this
oh
time. Is that what
Lord.
you're seeing here in the show notes we have?
As
That's
few news notes we did last week, it was still a very long episode. Somehow we went 20 minutes over with no
uh,
notes. So
with lots of
welcome
editing, I
back,
hear.
Ryan.
All
Yeah.
right, keeping the show on track. Why don't we start out with Don with a news and note? What do you have to tell us about starting out here, Don?
Yeah, if you're not on our Discord, we have been giving away more games than normal. So we have a giveaways channel now. Thank you, Nick, for putting that together. But we just gave away a copy of Poker Poker Panic. We gave away Bender 2, Off Planet Dreams. We've got a giveaway going now for Realistic Fishing. So hop on there, and a couple of people have been winning decals, the very nicely designed decals that Ryan Claytor, co-host of the Hello Playday podcast, has designed. So
Oh, our
yeah,
decals.
our
That's what's been
decals,
given. Good. Oh, fantastic. I'm glad those are
they're getting
finding good
out there.
homes.
Yeah, they're getting out
Excellent.
there in the wild.
I like
So
to
if
hear
you
that.
are missing out and you want some free games, hop on the Discord, get in the giveaway channel, and follow the very simple instructions each giveaway to win something.
Excellent. Get on in there. Discord it
Hmm.
up. We'd love to see you in there. Next news and note we have is that Uncranked number 5 is available for pre-order. We've got a link to that in the show notes for today's episode. I just got a notification that my physical copy, because I'm I'm a subscriber, got mailed to me today. So I'm really looking forward to that. But if you're not a subscriber, Why aren't you? And if you're not a subscriber, you can order single issues by pre-order. It might show up a little bit later. I chat with Zanya today, who tells me that those should be in her hands around mid-November and in your hands shortly thereafter once you order. So, Dawn, are you part of oh, maybe I shouldn't put you on blast. I
You
was
can
going to
put me
ask if
on
you're
blast.
are you part of the subscriber list for
I
Uncranked?
Yeah, I'm a digital subscriber. So I got an
Okay.
email the other day.
Okay. I
Yes,
need my physical media. I love those showing up in the mail. It's
that's
like
fine.
Christmas every quarter. Coming in my mailbox from Uncranked. Why did that take me so long to think of? Okay, cool. Well, speaking of Zani Lasagna, she's hard at work as always. And now, right now, you can head over to Itch to take part in the Hello Autumn Playdate bundle. For $9.99, you can grab a number of different games like Reflections Nightingale, Crank Casino, Bullet Shoot Chronicles, Shell Slinger, which is a beta, evidently, and our pick of last episode, Off Planet Dreams. What more could you ask for in a very reasonably priced bundle? We'll have a link to that in the show notes. Less than $2 a game? What is even happening in the
Wild.
world?
Yeah, two of
Gracious.
these games just came out today with the bundle. Shell
Oh,
Slinger by Zanya Lasagna and Pizza Fuel Dev and Bullet Shoot Chronicle Crazy Mobs Mania by Samplay just dropped today. But yeah, great collection here.
oh, that's nuts. Very cool. All right. Don, you've got another one for us.
Do I?
I think
Ledbetter
so.
Games, whose Off Planet Dreams we just spoke about, just hit itch today, by the way. We neglected to mention that there is a splash page for Pup Cup over on itch. This is a root like where I don't know, you don't have a dog, do you, Ryan?
I did when I was a wee lad, but I do not anymore. Is that a
You're
requisite for playing this game?
you're less wee. No, but there are some places that will give your dog like a cup of ice cream. You can get a cup of ice cream, a Pup Cup.
I
And
understand
so
that
we get a cup
concept.
of ice cream. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I guess
All
this
right.
is a coffee cup where you get whipped cream for your dog. Anyway, yeah, you fill up the cup, you give it to the dog, but this is a an upcoming game from Ledbetter Games. And to display it, to unveil the game, it was at, let me pull up the name of the conference. He posted a lot of pics of the event that it was unveiled at on our Discord. It was some sort of event in Texas where Kodiak Games helped. I, I'm like butchering this. It was Fantastic Arcade is the name of the event, but they built like these two giant Playdate arcade consoles that people at the event at Fantastic Arcade could just like walk up and play on like an
Hmm.
arcade
Oh man,
Playdate thing
very
with like a
cool.
giant crank.
Oh, what a crank too?
Yeah, it had like a giant crank on it too.
Wow, wow,
Yeah.
that's killer. Oh my gosh,
I don't know. Anyway,
that sounds
it
amazing.
looks like several people were involved in the building of this, but there are pictures on our Discord, so there'll be a link in the show notes to see that. It's even yellow, big and black and yellow.
As well, it should be. Well, speaking of amazing Playdate things, how about we move on to the fact that Playdate Catalog is having a Halloween sale right now. Yes, even though Halloween has passed us by, Halloween sale is on through November. Oh gosh, Jonathan, I'm gonna mess this
Uh,
up too.
I don't
November
know. It's like
14th, I want to
2 weeks.
say. Yeah, I
Yeah,
want to
about
say
two
November
weeks.
14th. Yeah, 2 weeks-ish. That's good. So there are just dozens of games available here. So many games, they won't even fit on one page on my browser. There's 6 different pages of games
Yeah.
with dozens of games each. So seemingly all games, I'm sure not all of them, but lots and lots of games are on sale. Folks like Mr. Skeenick Route Software is popping in there and saying, hey, what's the matter with you? Every one of my games is on sale right now. And so you can get in here
Is
and
that how
check
he
out some.
talks?
Oh yeah, you've never talked to him before?
I've never talked to him. Is that what Scenic Route Software? Is that what Steve sounds like?
Precisely. So all these games are on sale,
No way.
and some of them down to $1 question mark. You
Yeah.
can get Love Letter for $1. You can get let's see, Life's Too Short on Reflection for $1. You can
Hill
get
Slide.
Homa
Simple
Post.
Mind,
What in the world? Okay, you've heard enough. There's a big old sale. Get on over there. We've got a link to it in the show notes.
Angel Pop,
Paul's
83% off Angel Pop. Sorry, I'm getting excited over here. There's just a lot of stuff going on.
got Don all hype. All right. Before he gets any more hype, I better move
Hmm.
on to the next news and note, which is a crazy one. Playdate released a video update. So Krista Mergen, who has, been hiding in the wings recently, but she popped out and delivered a massive update. The first update was actually from Krista's homie, Arissa, who starts chatting about a bunch of games coming to catalog. So I went through this and took some notes. So I'm just going to sort of rapid style tell you guys what Arissa was highlighting here. So Lucas Wolski has a game called Owlet's Embrace. This is like a charming action adventure about a young owl who is afraid to fly. This looks really incredible. He said this was really a passion project for him. It looks crazy smooth, really cute characters, very easy to see, has a lovely, like, how would you say, like sort of a dithered, grayscale-y looking background, but not only that, it's like a multiple scrolling background that's grayscale and just looks incredible.
A lot of
There's
depth
these
and
yeah, yeah. So like depth of field in there, but
cozy, a
also some
little
interesting,
coziness too.
yeah, also interesting mechanics. Like this owl
Hmm.
has one of those like bionic commando arms that sort of toss down and reaches up to platforms above them, but then you can upgrade as you start to get your courage up and learn how to fly. This bionic commando arm seems to like extend even further than you expect. So it like sort of wraps around platforms above you. Really interesting and crazy, crazy smooth. I'm looking forward to this.
Hmm.
And evidently Catalog and Panic must be too, because this is not coming out until late 2025. So we've got at least a year before this thing is in our hands. But it looks good. Speaking of looking good, I spent way too long in that one because I'm real excited about it. The next one they mentioned was Comet. We've heard about Comet before, but Donald hopped on there and talked about how Comet is a game of completing puzzles and quests on an island. You're helping Stella find her missing brother, and you can do all kinds of crazy, wacky things like crank to adjust light levels, and there's interactive cutscenes that you can use your crank to scroll through. Really, really amazing looking game. We are still looking forward to that one. Next, office chair curling. This is basically just what it sounds like. You're tossing an office chair around, you're sliding around in that office space and trying to hit a bullseye. There is a projected December 24 release. Probably that the probably is the quote from the developer. So that is not me being doubtful. That's the developer trying to hedge bets. And I would recommend that you watch the whole video because this is
Yeah,
probably like the best jump cut introduction I saw of the whole thing. It got me and I laughed out loud.
that was fun. Anybody who's
So
worked in an office, especially pre-cell phone, is familiar with this sport of office chair curling.
yep, yep.
Lots of
Well, Don,
nostalgia.
you know my relationship with pesky old words. Well, we've got a game about words called Boards. And let me spell that for you. BWIRDS. So birds, but combined with words. And evidently in this game, writers are at a loss for words. So you will pluck words by selecting lettered characters like the vowel owls and the consonant condor.
Mhm.
And this is coming out. It's okay. So Don, help me out with this one. It said coming out November 26. Now, I think that that means this month in 2024, November the 26th, but it was unclear if it was like November 2026 or if it
No, no,
was the
no.
26th
Yeah,
of 2024. Is that
the
what you got?
26th. Yeah, and it's a
Okay.
Tuesday, and I actually have this one. It came out.
Is that right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how I got it. It must have come out as a bundle or something already.
Hmm.
over the
Is that right?
summer. Yeah, over the summer.
What?
It came out as part of a bundle, but it might be coming
Huh.
to catalog soon.
Now
Or
I
maybe it's
feel left
a
out.
beta or early access. I didn't get
Huh.
it. It wasn't like a free hookup or anything. It's
Hmm.
on It's or
Likely
something.
story. Okay.
No, I
Well, I'm
promise.
gonna go sulk. That's fine. While I talk about the next game from JP and Mario of Bullfrog fame. This one's called Devils on the Moon Pinball. Now, this one has been discussed in our Discord and among us a number of times because if you didn't know, Nick and Dawn and I are all big pinball fanatics. So we've been looking out for this one. So essentially, the pinball playfield is sort of split into three different areas. Sort of like, if you're playing on a Game Boy and, kind of scrolls up a screen as your ball moves up or down. There are global leaderboards, there's multiple difficulty levels there, and evidently they said they're halfway through development right now. And the release time is sometime next year. So look for this in 2025. Don, what are your thoughts on this game? Were you able to get a little early access here? Am I
Yeah.
speaking out of turn about this?
No, yeah, we're in the test. It's not called test flight. I don't know what it's called.
Beta?
Beta period.
Yeah,
Yeah. Being big pinball people, we hopped all over this when we saw it go up on the squad channel. Uh, yeah, this one plays way smoother than I expected, way more fast, way much better, much more entertaining and fun game than I expected. Not to knock them at all. I just didn't know the Playdate was even capable of pulling it off. So this is a lot of fun. Definitely look forward to Devils on the Moon Pinball whenever it hits its full release. So, um, and also the trailers for that one is a lot of fun and really silly. So the overall, just watching the Playdate update that was released on the 31st, it's not very long. It was only like 15 minutes or something, and they go through
yeah,
a lot of news and a lot of great videos and quick hits and whatnot. So give it a shot, give it a look. Put a
totally.
link in
They
the show
do.
notes. Yeah, yeah, check it
Which
out.
much to Don's chagrin, I'm about to tell you about right now, but it's going to be
Oh,
quick because the rest of this is like quick hits, a couple of updates, and then Krista drops some big announcements. So after these developer previews that we just mentioned, there were some quick hits about games out on catalog now, like Echo the or Echo the Oracle's Scroll. This is by Bumbleborn. It's a platformer. Zero Zero Perfect Stop by Hunter Bridges. Touch Egg by Joel. That's the wacky finger touching egg game. Summit by Pixelated Opus. It looks like a really challenging platformer. Bender 2 Bend Harder by Matt Sefton. You got to bend those things perfectly. Angel Pop by NNNN. It's like a bullet hell game. We've chatted about that before. Propeller Rat by Squid God, like a propeller platformer game. And Void Blazers by a team of two people, Tajin Kurses and Jasmine Arikan. So sorry about that. Vertical scrolling shooter for Void Blazers
you got
and
it.
Superconductor by, thank you, Steve Ngapo. Train conducting routing type game. Looks like it really picks up the pace and looks like a fun game. And then there were some updates, like Under the Castle evidently just got a major update. So
Hmm.
beyond just like bug fixes and performance optimization, there's new items, like you can get a cursed sword or a dragon shield, and there's new songs and updated stat screens and all sorts of stuff. So if you liked Under the Castle when we played it as a game of the week, boy howdy, go check up that update, or check out that update rather. Root Bear, speaking of Root Bear, it's got some new effects, some art, some sound, some leaderboards, and a full engine rewrite. So if it was given your Playdate fits before, give it another try. I don't think it was, but hey, evidently
Uh,
something was happening to make them rewrite that engine.
teacher. Uh,
Yes.
a quick question. Do we Do we know when the root beer update is coming out? I did not own that game on catalog, so I just checked it out and its last update was in March. So that update has not been pushed. Do we know when that's coming?
Oh, interesting. I did not take notes on that. So
Okay.
I'm not sure if they mentioned it. I was under the assumption that these were currently available updates, but
That's what I
maybe that
thought too. So
assumption was
maybe
wrong.
any second now or any day now kind of
Yeah,
thing. Okay,
yeah.
cool.
maybe by the time folks are listening to this episode, it will be available.
Cool. All right.
Let's hope.
Yes.
And finally, there was one last update about Robot Rally. This is like a top-down boat racing game, and evidently that's going to release on December 17th. All right. Don, did you want to comment on any of those quick hits or updates?
I mean, it's a lot of great stuff. I don't know what to say. I just
Okay,
again watch the video. You'll be blown away. And a lot of
totally.
these are on
Because,
sale. I will say that if you want to save some cash and get a lot of good
right?
games, grab them now.
Yeah, and this Halloween sale that's going till the middle of November. Yes, indeed. Totally. All right, because it's about to get real exciting. Strap in, Don, because Krista dropped some knowledge. Are you ready? Are you ready, Don?
Let me write down the timestamp real quick. Yes, go ahead.
All right, contain your excitement. But I am very excited, if you couldn't tell, about there is a season two of games coming in 2025,
Heck
confirmed by
yeah.
Krista on this particular video. So
Awesome.
evidently, there are going to be 12-ish games in this season two, and it's releasing next year sometime. And that's pretty much all the information we got. She also said there's going to be an extra surprise in here. Didn't really give any hints what that might be. And that you got to buy it from catalog. Evidently, that was released on Engadget. So
I'm trying to write
that's where you're
Cheyenne
going to buy it.
McDonald there.
Aha, great. Cheyenne
Cheyenne
McDonald.
McDonald, she talked to the PR over there and revealed that it does have to be purchased through catalog.
Cool. Very good. Very good. So very exciting news. My eyes doubled in size when I saw that. Thank you,
Yeah.
Panic, for listening to us and for going through all the hard work to make that happen. We all loved the first season, and it's why we've been clamoring for a second one. So, thank you for giving us something to talk about on the podcast for another seveal weeks. Um,
Oh, that's
Don,
true. Are we gonna have to do, are we gonna have to do that? Weekly episodes for 12 weeks?
boy, I hope it's not at an intense time in my life because I would love to
Oh,
do that again.
that was
We'll
fun.
see how that goes. But the last thing they were talking about is we've got some stuff back in stock. She announced that the pizza box is back in stock, but that thing's been in stock. I've been checking the website and it's just been available, so I don't know what the big deal about that was. Anyway,
It came
that's in
back. It was
stock.
out of stock. It was out of stock. It's been
Was
back
it?
for yeah, it was out of stock. It's been back for a couple weeks, but
Yeah,
like
it's
a
been back
month.
for a few weeks. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
okay. So hey, pizza box is there if you want it. And I've been checking a bunch about play dates, and those keep not being available, but evidently
Hmm.
next month, December 2024, they will be. So play dates are coming back. Evidently there was a big demand, and they were trying to fulfill that demand, and they're gonna be back now. The other couple of minor announcements is that there's going to be an upcoming official Playdate podcast about that incident where Panic lost $400,000 worth of Playdates in North Las Vegas. So stay tuned for that. And then with the release of season two, there's going to be a bunch more official Playdate podcasts to release in conjunction with all those games. So lots of content to look forward to here. Lots of news on this most recent Playdate video news update.
Yes, we're stocked. This was
Okay.
it was nice. I feel like we hadn't had an update in a while, like a big what was it, like 4th of July maybe around then?
Yeah, it
The last
does
time
seem
we
like
had a
it's
big
been a
update.
while.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
nice to get some news and some significant news. Season two is something
totally.
people have been talking about basically since like week 13 of the initial launch. As soon as
Yeah.
season one wrapped up, okay, so when's season two? So this will be exciting.
Totally. It was exciting. And not to be the wet blanket in the party here, but there was some kind of bummer news that came out since last episode. That is the fact that the stereo dock, which everybody has been excited about, and I even predicted it would be out in 2024 under no knowledge on my part, obviously. But that stereo dock is on pause, potentially forever. So I'll try to spell this out a little bit. Basically, there were issues with the Bluetooth experience, the factory that handled it, and the rising costs of resolving it all. And the Playdate team was quoted as saying, well, our first regret was assuming that our factory at that time a factory that made lots of Bluetooth speakers, could easily design the electronics for us, saving us lots of time and money. That went pretty well at first, but they in turn outsourced the Bluetooth software and chipset to another company in another country. As a result, the stereo dock would crash often. Rapidly adjusting the volume would crash it. The Bluetooth pairing and unpairing experience was, quote, rough. And when we played music, it just did not sound very good. The back and forth between the three companies trying to fix bugs became a huge challenge, and worst of all, the cost of the stereo dock kept getting higher and higher. So there are a couple of sources for this. One is Cable's response to a social media post, and we'll link to that in a Reddit article. And then our intrepid hero, Cheyenne McDonald, wrote an Engadget report all about it, which we'll link to as well. So folks who are looking forward to that stereo dock, the final nail has not been inserted into that proverbial coffin, but it sounds like most of the nails have. They weren't willing to say, nope, never, but they're definitely saying not anytime soon, and maybe might, maybe not ever. Don, how many tears did you wipe away when you read this?
I mean, it stung, but you didn't want it to come out. You didn't want them to go through jumping through all the hurdles and then be like, okay, well, we did it. It's $300. And then
Right.
everybody just complaining about it. Oh, it's $300. Oh, they're gouging us, da, 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 because you know how gamers are, and they're just gonna not think about everything that went behind it and just complain about the price. And so I really appreciate that they're transparent about it, they're honest, and they said, look, we'd love for it to happen too, and it's not gonna happen. So
Yeah.
yes, it is disappointing. Obviously, everybody is disappointed, but that's how it goes.
Yeah, kind of a bummer. So, anyhow, that's happening or not, as it may be. And we've got one more news and note to kind of wrap things up here in a more positive light. Destination update is Spooky Squad. Don, do you want to take this one away?
Yeah. Speaking of transparency, Ryan and I are recording a little bit early, a couple days early. And so at this time, Spooky Squad is the lone destination playdate video that has been released since our last episode, but it's a fun one. Yeah. If you haven't checked out this game, it looks like a Ghostbusters homage where you're running around and it's very beautifully crafted. So it was a lot of fun watching him play. And this is one I honestly I'm kind of waiting until it hits catalog because I know for sure it's going to hit catalog. It looks like a
It
triple A game.
It does look that
Yeah.
good. Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. In fact, this was so close for my pick of the week. I'm picking next episode's game, which we'll reveal at the end of this episode. But man, this one was neck and neck. So yeah, check out Spooky Squad. Destination Playdate. Thanks for reviewing it. And this is the point of the show where we say, "Hoobity boop boop." It's time for indie
Ooh.
inventory, and please rate and review all the games that you're playing over on itch. Evidently, that helps the developers so that they can get some more eyeballs on their games. With that said, Don, what you got for us today for indie inventory? Ooh, I'm excited about this first one.
Well, this first one is a game from a studio that we used to speak about all the time in the early days of
It's
the
true.
Playdate and the Helloplaydatepodcast podcast, but we haven't heard from them in
The
a while. And they're
mhm.
back. This is SN Studios with a game called Delved. And
So
it's
if that name sounds familiar, SN
mhm.
Studios of Tochi fame, Tochi 2, the third slash prequel follow up to that, I'm blanking on the name of.
Lush's Land
Thank you, Don.
was the other
You're
big
you're a
one.
miracle worker.
Yeah,
Yes.
they even remade Tochi. There was a remake already of Tochi on the Playdate.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Wow, I
Tochi
missed it.
Tuner.
Huh. Oh, right. Yep. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm with you now. Thank you for
So
jogging my memory.
I've always really loved the art style that SN Studios has put in their games, and Ryan is a big fan of the gameplay and their games really. Like their games are a little too hard for me, but I really love the way their games look. So maybe I don't know. Honestly, this one looks a little tough for me, so this might be a Ryan game too. But it's a platformer, side-scrolling platformer from them, whereas the other games were more top-down exploration games.
Yeah.
Although
So Don and I,
Tochi side-scrolling?
no, Tochi was like an overhead dungeon crawler.
Okay. Oh yeah. I'm looking at it now.
Yeah.
You're right.
So, Delved, as Dawn and I speak on Friday, November 1st, is a pre-order now, but I think by the time this episode releases on 2, 3, 4, 5, November 5th, that it's going to be available. So head on over to the link in the show notes to check out Delved, the next jam from SN Studios. SN Studios, glad you're back.
Good catch on the pre-order. Sorry, I neglected to mention that. Thank you.
Yeah, but
And
it'll be $2.99 when it is released.
yes, very good. Next up from Power Drive Studios is, excuse me, Power Drive Games is Eldritch Soul. This one is, it reminded me of Inscription. It seems like a very much inspired by Inscription, where you're sort of dealing with a dark entity, and it doesn't involve dice, but it does involve a deck building mechanic. Am I messing up Inscription? I think Inscription's got dice and deck building. Definitely, they both have deck building though, and you're sort of attacking it and speaking with it. It looks like there might be some sort of speaking or I don't know, drawing from the soul. I have not played this yet, clearly, but it's a roguelike deck builder, and you play as the hunter, and you're trying to get knowledge from the Elder Soul, the Elder Tome.
Huh.
So it looks very spooky, very cool, and yeah, I don't know. This looks up my alley, and honestly, I have been spending more time cleaning out my Playdate to make it play faster than I have playing games this weekend. So I will be playing this soon, but I have not played it yet. Ryan,
Very
are
cool.
you interested in deck builders?
I am not, but this has a very interesting visual deck building element to it. Like you're putting
Hmm.
these cards together and they're like visually moving toward this enemy and, trying to bash it apart, I'm assuming. Really interesting visuals and mechanics here. Looks really cool.
The visuals and the mechanics are what really spoke to me with the inscription thing as well. Like it's got
Yeah.
like a bone with the very simple numbers and it looks very readable,
Yeah.
especially on the Playdate. So I am looking forward to this guy. Eldritch Soul from Power Dive Games for $7 right now.
Cool.
Next up, speaking with the fall theme by Osterberg, is Pumpkin Factory. This one is a little easier to play. This one I actually played on Windows. I have not played it on Playdate yet. It looks a lot more interesting on the Playdate than it does on Windows. The Windows Flash version is just very simple, flipping a crank back and forth between playing pumpkins and jack-o'-lanterns, and you're selling the jack-o'-lanterns. But you got to kind of be quick on the switch because you don't want to
Huh.
sell the wrong type.
Oh, okay. I was wondering
Yeah.
how this works exactly, but you described it quite well. And as the pumpkins roll off conveyor belt number one onto number two,
Hmm.
they're sort of masked behind this screen. And you have to remember which ones are jack-o'-lanterns and which ones are not to switch that thing back and forth. Very interesting. Oh, that's a cool game. And even more cool is the fact that you can get this for gosh darn free.
It's
It's not
free.
even a name your own price. You can download this. Consider it done. Just downloaded. Thank you, Osterberg.
The price is free. Next
Very
up
nice.
is a game called Sudoku Time by JP Garvera. I just butchered that name. You're the one who has this little bit of a Spanish background. Can you not butcher that?
Let's see. JP Guevara? Is that right?
That's probably a little closer. We
Huh.
haven't seen very many Sudoku games on the Playdate, which I find surprising. But this one has 100 levels, good controls, progress tracking, etc. And it's only $1. So
Goodness.
if you want some Sudoku, you don't have any in your pocket right now. Now you do. And it's got a demo, free demo. So check out Sudoku
Man,
Time.
you can barely play a single game of an arcade anymore for $1, let alone have a permanent game in your pocket. Gracious. JP, thank you for Sudoku time. And speaking of more games, gracious me, there's one called Cranky Courier. This is a pick up and deliver love letters to residents game. So you control the player using the D-pad or the crank, and you can track your high score. Said made for MinMax, the MinMax Community Game Jam in October
That's
2024. So this is brand spanking new too.
that's the main reason why I threw this one in here. It is for Game Jam. It is free. MinMax is one of my favorite podcasts, and so I am supporting them by mentioning their game jam going on right
Hmm,
now. There's only a few submissions. I think this might be the only Playdate submission in there. So
cool.
give it a look.
Right on. And um, my mind is mush. We mentioned the catalog Halloween sale already, right?
Yes, yeah, we went through that.
Okay, great. All right, just making sure. Do we have anything we need to wrap up for indie inventory?
I don't think so.
Oh, my
I think we're
land. You
good to
know what
go.
that means? More boops, leading us into boop, boop,
Mm,
boop, boop, respectful boop pick of the week,
nice.
which is from Dawn. Dawn, what's this week's game?
This link just broke. This week's game is a game called Be Kind to Yourself by Mouflon Cloud, a game that I've been wanting to feature for a long time. It feels like I am just on a shooter binge on my picks lately, but I had to get this one in here. This one, Be Kind to Yourself. It's an intense puzzle arcade game with a rhythm element, I should mention. It looks like a shoot 'em up, but it plays like a falling block puzzle game at 120 beats per minute. Build and crash your combos to achieve mind-boggling scores. And I would agree with that. It is technically, you are selecting puzzle pieces by shooting them, but it is very much, I feel that it is more of a puzzle game than a shooter. Although it's a very, selecting the puzzle pieces is very specific. Your bullets go very, you have to be very particular with where your bullets are going. So it's a very tricky puzzle game. Losing a life does not break your combo. So again, leads into puzzle elements. And one of my favorite things about this game is it is soaked in style. Like style is bursting from every seam of Be Kind to Yourself. Ryan, were you kind to yourself
Yes.
this week?
Well, last week I was kind to myself, but this week I feel like I was a little dysfunctional with myself. But that aside, I enjoyed this game after I got the hang of it. That is to say, at the beginning, I was pretty befuddled. I felt very silly. I felt unintelligent trying to get to know this game because there were a lot of questions I had. But thankfully, we had, well, a couple things. One, there's a really great game guide for Be Kind to Yourself that was quite helpful. Also, the fact that the developer, Mouflon Cloud, was in our Discord as we were discussing this game was incredibly helpful too. So I finally got the hang of this like really deep uh deep in the way of scoring can increase in a number of different ways. So, Don, you alluded a little bit to some of these, but you can basically select pairs of objects that are coming toward you, and you're trying to grab them in pairs. So, if you get them in odd numbers, then they do not give you scores. Also, there's squares and circles, so you're trying to get those paired up. Mostly, you can do a square and a circle for a single pair, but that's a little beside the point. But in addition to all this, you can get combos by continuing to shoot those, and that raises your score. And if that wasn't enough, it's also sort of a rhythm game too. So if you can get these things on the beats, then that increases your score as well. So I think for me, it was like a whole lot to keep track of initially. But once I got in there and once I started learning it some more, I was feeling more comfortable. And then my Playdate button broke, so I wasn't able to play it for the past week. But the week before, the week that you announced it, I was getting in there and playing it quite a bit. And I found myself when I would get overwhelmed with trying to figure out combos and number of uh, shapes to hit that I could just sort of forget everything and say, okay, I'm just going for combos. And then it was finding pairs and shooting them, finding pairs and shooting them. And even just that was really interesting for me, especially because there's a leaderboard for it. So I was able to, sort of shoot for something there. And yeah, I really enjoyed my time with it. But that is to say that there was definitely a learning curve for me. So if I could recommend anything, it would be to get in there to that what is that document that I was directed to eventually, Don?
Like just the manual,
Um,
the
I
tutorial,
think
or
so.
there's a very, very cool combo manual
That's the one.
online.
And
Yeah,
why is that not linked from the catalog page?
it
I
is.
feel like that would be super helpful. Is it?
Yeah, it's
I'm
on the
sure not.
catalog page. I initially found it using a QR
Combo
code in the
manual.
game.
Okay,
Yeah, it
way down
is.
there. There we
Yeah.
go. Okay.
Yep.
Pesky words, I tell you. All right. Yes. Thank you, Don, for correcting me on that.
I will always be here to correct you, Ryan. There's just like a regular, I don't know, website that kind of gives you gifts and whatnot, screenshots and but the combo manual is really like you were saying, kind of the bread and butter. Like
Yeah.
that's the meat and potatoes. It's all of the food groups of how to play this game. And it is a bit of a hectic game, and you kind of are just like you're playing and not really understanding why you lose points because the combo system is built just as heavily for you to lose points as it is for you to gain points,
Yeah. Yep.
which is very unusual for any video game.
Yes.
But it's called symmetry fails. And so once you have an understanding of that, it makes the game sort of a lot more of adds a puzzle layer to it, another puzzle layer to it. And
Yeah.
you mentioned I guess we both mentioned the rhythm element. The rhythm element never really felt that substantial to me. I'm not sure if that really goes into, does it really talk about on the beat modifier? You get a 3-time multiplier if
Hmm.
you're on the beat. So it didn't really feel that substantial to me, but none of my scores were very good. So we might have to look at Dino's comments here in a minute because looking at the high score charts here, there are several. You made one of them. You made longest combo, but Dino, if you're a listener of the show, I'm sure you're familiar with that name, but one of our regular listeners and contributors, he's on nearly every high score chart here. He just dominated this week. He's on all but one. Memos completed, which memos, something we haven't mentioned yet, they seem to be sort of like these hidden, I don't know, I only found one memo. Sort of like hidden documents inside the game. Did you find
Huh.
any memos before you stopped
No.
playing?
Tell me about memos.
The memo is like, I don't have it to pull up right now. It was sort of like a little bit of lore, but
Huh.
then I see that memos completed has scores assigned to it, and I don't really see why there would be a score assigned to it.
Is that oh, I thought there was some discussion about that, how it wasn't score, but it was like counting something.
Maybe because all these
Since
scores are very similar.
yes, yes. Um While you're figuring out information about that, I did want to jump back to the rhythm element of this game for just a moment,
Hmm.
because I think there's maybe a fair amount of us who play the Playdate with the volume off. And so maybe you'd think to yourself, if this has a rhythm element, I'm out. But this rhythm element is also visual. So these falling blocks, these blocks and circles are kind of like boom, boom, pulsing visually as they're descending from left to right across the screen toward you. And that was another element that I didn't understand at first, that rhythm was important for score or can be important for score, or is one of the many elements that's important to score. Um, and so I started noticing then the pulsing effect. And if you hit it on the pulse or you hit it on the beat, then there's some visual recognition too. Like if you hit it on the beat, then there's a little dot inside the block that you just hit. Whereas if it's off the beat, then you don't get that dot visual feedback. So prior to getting in and getting some of those tips and tricks, I did not understand that, but I thought I'd mention that for folks who may have heard rhythm game, can't do that. I don't listen to any games. You can still do it visually in this game. Pretty
I
cool.
I think adding a dot is genius.
Totally.
It just puts a dot in the center of whatever the shape is that you shot, and so you
Yep.
just know, oh, okay, yeah, I hit it on the beat. And I would say almost more times than not, I hit them on the beat. And I feel like maybe it's just the way the game is designed. I am a person who does mostly play with the sound off, but I feel like just the vibe of the game probably had me shooting on the beat, like, oh, bam,
Hmm.
bam, 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 bam.
That's interesting because I was focused so heavily on combos that I was very much not hitting on the beat. I was trying to. So, another thing we did not mention is the fact that the more combos you accrue, the faster the blocks descend.
Hmm.
And so I was not on the beat. I was shooting for my life, trying to get as many combos as I possibly could.
Oh,
Um, so
wait.
that's interesting to hear that maybe you were not going for big time combos, and so the beat
I was
was more
trying.
achievable. Oh,
I was trying. I
maybe I'm
just
speaking out of turn and being an awful person.
no. You're
That's
not speaking
another
out of turn,
option.
but I feel like you had to be very careful with where you shot because if you miss, you
Yes.
lose your combo, and it's so detrimental. Not losing a combo. Losing a combo isn't necessarily detrimental, but hitting the wrong thing is.
Yeah.
And so if you hit too many blocks or not enough, then you're kind of screwed and you got to like really haul to hit an even number of blocks. That's a big thing. And maybe you made this relationship analogy at the beginning of our conversation. Maybe that's the pairs. Like you have to have pairs. You don't want a single. No
Mhm.
singles allowed. So you got to have two of something, two twos, fours, sixes, or whatever, or you're going to
Yeah.
be in problems. But and don't take that me in the wrong. Don't take that in the wrong way. Where you're not like having to sit there and count. Oh, I gotta have two of these, two of these. It's all happening so fast. You're
Mhm.
just like, okay, I got two circles, I got two squares, one circle, one square. It's all happening on a very tiny screen. But you just said something else interesting. Falling down. Were you mostly playing sideways?
Yes, I was.
Oh, I never played sideways.
Really? Oh,
Maybe I
interesting.
should have
Did you
tried
flip
it.
your play date?
I just played regular Playdate style, playing it sideways.
What
I just shot to the
what do
left the
you
whole time.
Yes, me too. Is that what you
Oh,
meant?
you can
Maybe I'm
have it.
misunderstanding you.
You can change it so that it's side scrolling or it's Taito mode or
Vertic
whatever. So that
vertically scrolling?
yeah, so the blocks are falling down, and all the text is set so that you're reading it from the vertical position.
Okay. Interesting.
So I
No,
guess
I
you're
did not
holding it
try
with
that.
the buttons in your left hand and the crank at the bottom.
Very cool. I did not try that.
Okay, yeah, I didn't either.
Good to know that's there
I
though.
felt
That's
like
a
that was
cool.
left-handed mode or something. I wasn't ready for that.
I mean, when I was playing, okay, we're getting into nitty-gritty here. Are you ready, Don? When I was playing this thing, because it's basically crank and A, I was kind of holding my
Hey,
playdate like in a A, right?
I used right on the D-pad the whole time.
Oh, boy, howdy. Interesting. Okay, so because I was using A, I held the playdate in sort of a diagonal manner anyway, because I needed my thumb to be on the complete opposite side of the playdate while my
Huh.
crank hand was working. So I guess it was sort of diagonal anyway. I'm trying to see if I turned it completely sideways, if that would, I don't know, that
I
feels
don't think
weird
I
to
would
me.
want, yeah, I don't think I'd want to do crank on the bottom if I had to push a button.
Yeah,
There are
same.
games I've played with crank on the bottom, but I think they're just crank only games.
Hmm, hmm. Interesting. Yeah, cool. Lots of options in this game. Lots of ways to increase scoring, lots of options for gameplay. Very cool. Very cool. What are we missing? I feel like this game is so deep, we must be missing a bunch.
I mean, it's got its own music player. If you just leave it sitting there, you can play through the tracks, which is really neat. I mentioned that it's oozing style, and it is like it. Oops, I can't jump into it right now. My plate it's tied up right now. But yeah, it's just so cool. Like the game is just cool. It just feels like a cool game. Just the style. I just love the style. This sort of like retro futuristic style that it's got going. Everything is so crisp and clean. Like no stone is left unturned. It doesn't feel like that it was rushed out the door at all. It's just like the polish is triple A. Like this is a triple A Playdate game. It's funny. Like one of the power-ups I picked up, tiny spoiler for one of the power-ups, it was like your guns jammed LMFAO or whatever. LAFO. I don't remember. Either way, it was like, and so then I couldn't shoot anything for 5, 10 seconds or something. I was just dodging stuff. I love that one of the ways to kind of get better is to just like let something hit the back wall, like basically miss something, because it only gives you a 10-point penalty. And so
Mm-hmm.
the scoring system is just so clever and off the wall. It's sort of like even if you've been playing video games for 40 years, you sort of have to relearn everything
To
you
learn
know.
it. Yeah, man,
Yeah.
I really felt that way when I first started. Um, yeah, and just to bounce off what you were saying about the polish and how cool this game looks, one, the polish, I feel like we're we're kind of spoiled by Mouflon Cloud in that his games are pretty polished, right?
Hmm.
But also, on the cool front, I don't know how far you got into the combos, but as you hit X number of combos. Is it 10 or 12 or 8 or something? Once you hit that number of combos, the environment changes.
Yeah.
And then it continues changing every so many combos. So it's almost like, man, I want to get to that next level of combos
Hmm.
so I can see what new cool environment I'm going to be doing this in. And yes, you're doing the same thing. You're still shooting blocks that are falling from the left side of the screen, but it is happening at an increased rate. Remember, the more combos you hit, the faster they go. And there's some added excitement in there of like, oh man, I'm getting to a new level. Like it was a really interesting, fun way to experience the game. It wasn't just like, all right, I'm playing Tetris, which by the way, I adore. I'm playing Tetris, but it's just the same screen all the time. I know what I need to do, but there was a little different like visual variation in there too. It was really neat.
Yeah, what's coming next? It gives you that little hook of I want to keep playing. I want to see what's next. Not just chasing a
Another
score.
another reason to try to get better. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
not just purely score chasing, but also getting to see some other Easter eggs in the game. Yeah.
I
Like the
just
next
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, no, I'm switching gears a little bit. You go ahead.
I was going to say a minor spoiler for when you start getting accruing a number of combos is that next environment looks very like cyberpunk. It's got that
Hmm.
quintessential grid
The
bottom that's
Trapper
sort of script.
Keeper
Yes,
graphic.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh man, so good, so good.
Yeah. Um, I just put my Playdate down for a second and it went into the screensaver mode, which was playing music, and it said like edgy game music was the name of the song. And then when you pause the game even, it gives you hints. There's 20 hints. And I guess it goes in
Yeah.
order if you just keep pausing. Oh no, it shuffles them. Yeah, every time you pause and unpause, it gives you a different hint, but it just shuffles them. You can change where the grip is. You can change the dead zone of the grip, which changes how fast your ship moves. There's different save slots. It's just really smart. The tutorial is amazing. This is like an S tier tutorial where even the tutorial teaches you what happens when you fail by making you fail in the tutorial. You have to fail a combo
Mhm.
in the tutorial to show you what happens when you fail a combo. Did you watch the trailer for the game?
No, I haven't seen the trailer, but I did get stuck on the tutorial actually. I think it was number 4 of 7 that tells you to get like six of a kind or something. And I brought
Hmm.
this up in the Discord, and I think Mouflon Cloud took note, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I can see how that would be misunderstood in the way that you understood it." So I think there might be
All
some
right.
minor alterations of the wording in that. So that's really nice to hear that, whenever devs come in and start listening to uh, how this game is being played, how their game is being understood, that's pretty neat that you can have that real-time experience with folks and essentially be like a secondary beta tester and they're willing to make changes based on that. So kudos to Mouflon Cloud for uh, you know being there this entire couple weeks for the game.
That yeah, I want to also thank MoveOn Cloud for being involved. Anytime a dev pops in, I guess we're just kind of lucky that we have a podcast so that when we're playing a game, sometimes the devs pop in and help out. That's a luxury that most gamers don't have. So,
But you can, dear listener, join our Discord and play
yes.
the games that we're playing and have the
Yeah.
same experience. So come on and join us. It is a ton of fun over there.
And in some cases like test flight, we had Dig pop. back in, and he's been adding stuff to Test Flight,
Yeah.
which was a game that we talked about a couple months ago.
Yep.
Uh, because we had the channel just got resurrected when he popped back in. So if you look at the pick of a week discussions on the Discord, each game that we talk about has its own channel. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, move on Cloud. And if you haven't played Stars of the Screen, his other game, if you like the style and the humor of this game, go back, play that one. That is not anything like this, like Be Kind to Yourself as far as gameplay, but similar in tone. Anyway, any closing
Very
thoughts
cool.
on Be Kind to Yourself?
As a matter of fact, we do have some closing thoughts from Dino,
Nice.
longtime listener, many time writer. It says, I have some thoughts so far. Too long, don't read. Is this game is great. Although the scoring system looks fairly simple written down, it took me a while to grasp the combo building mechanics. Dino, I'm glad that's the same for you because I was feeling like a silly goose. Dino also says, once the rules had sunk in, it was super rewarding using the crank's pinpoint precision to build long and complex combos. Man, I hit what I thought was a pretty reasonable combo, and I just saw the leaderboards that Dino now bested me by quite a few and is number 2 on the global leaderboard. So Dino, congratulations on that. Dino continues to say, I really enjoy the variety of leaderboards and how each is tied to an individual statistic. The strategies are different for each challenge, but the tactics are similar, making it easier to switch between them. That's a really great point, Dino. Finally, Dino says, thank you, Mouflon Cloud, stars of the screen. I've had loads of fun, and your game has been very rewarding. Thanks for all your feedback here, too. Cool. Dino, thank you for wrapping up some lovely closing thoughts for us. I think that's it for me. Dawn, did you have any closing thoughts before we leave your pick of the week?
No, yeah, if you like puzzle games and if you like shooters, I feel like it's definitely worth a shot. It's currently $6. It's on sale.
Worth a shot. I see what you did there.
Uh,
Picking up what you're throwing down.
yes. It's currently $6 on sale on catalog, and it's usually $8 and it's always $7 on itch. I'll put a link to both versions in the show notes. But if you play on the catalog version, you get access to the leaderboards. You can take Dino down.
Doubt it.
Oh, and
Anyway,
also, real quick, thanks to NNN, another forum, another dev and forum user that I initially tagged for help because they had some really high scores and they popped in and gave us some advice. So, kudos to them. Appreciate them popping in back in and helping us out there.
yeah, right on. Well, Mouflon Cloud, thanks for making a banger of a pick of the week for us this week. We really had a lot
Hmm.
of fun with this. And speaking of banger picks of the week, how about a Ryan pick next time? That's right. I am going to pick Gecko Snacks by McDevin. Gecko Snacks is a great little point chaser. You are a gecko trying to pick up some food, and the mechanic here is entirely crank-based, and it's done in such a way that I've not really seen done before. I'm gonna leave it at that and let you pick this up. It is name your own price, so go grab this without hesitation. And we'll talk about it in the Discord for the next couple weeks, and we'll talk about it on air in a couple weeks. So I hope you pick that up. And since we're coming to the end of the show, I wanted to make a little announcement. You've heard me talk about my latest book here on the podcast. This is featuring 20 years of my work in comics, illustration, and design. And over the latter half of 2024, I've been touring this nationally. And my last tour stop is coming up in Lansing, Michigan this Saturday, November 9th, 2024. And it's with a local independent bookstore where I live in Lansing, Michigan. And if the last tour stop wasn't enough to get you out there, it's being moderated by my 11-year-old son. So this is the stop to
Nice.
get to. I hope you can make it if you're listening to this. If not, my books are still available. You can go to onebiteatatimebook.com. That's onebiteatatimebook.com, and that should take you straight to the ordering page on my website. But if you're not interested in getting a book, then you can still email us at helloplaydatepodcast at gmail.com. What other things do we have available for you? How about our website? Playdatepodcast.com will take you straight to our thing that we do here that is called a podcast. Also, we have a Discord that we've mentioned a number of times. We've got the Instagram, and that's probably all I'll mention. Oh, I can't forget the Bingo's tip line, even though I always do for some reason. Bingo's tip line is a line that you can call and leave a message for us. And if Don is feeling up to it that week, he might even edit it into the podcast. And that number is 724 Bingo's one. That's 724 246 4671. Please call that. We would love to hear from you. 724 Bingo's one. Don, what'd I miss?
I think you got everything. We miss you, Nick.
Oh,
Hopefully we'll all three be together someday. But thank you all for listening, and we'll catch you soon.
all right. Fingers crossed for a reunion.